for legislative seat for re-election in District 25. And I think some of the important things you need to know about me are the committees I'm on currently. I am Vice Chair of Transportation and Telecommunications. I also sit on Natural Resources Committee. And then I am the chair of the Performance Audit Committee, which is a special committee. And the only thing special about that is it doesn't have regular meeting times, meaning that we don't meet twice a week or 3 times a week. We meet kind of as needed. And I can get into more about that committee if you have questions about that. Full disclosure, should I win re-election, I plan to participate on the Judiciary Committee instead of Natural Resources. It is important to me to stay on a committee so I gain expertise. However, Judiciary is where my interests lie. And so I am looking to hopefully get on that committee. And I'll tell you 2 reasons. One is I'm very interested in mental health and corrections and how those 2 things merge. I have a background in mental health in my pharmaceutical pharmaceutical sales days, and corrections because of a special committee I was appointed to be on. And so I just want to, I really want to serve on that committee because I see that as an area of growth that we can make in mental health services and corrections. So that's a little about my legislative history and where I want to go. And so I'm open to any questions you might have.
Perfect. And thank you so much again for joining us, Senator. I know you're up for re-election and you're busy time, so we do appreciate you taking the opportunity to visit with us this morning. As I said, my name is Gina Ragland, and with us today we have Dave Holmquist, who's our state president, Danny DeLong, who's one of our lead advocacy volunteers, and then Mike Walsh is also an advocacy volunteer and actually a constituent of yours. So,
hi, Mike.
Yeah, and Emily Wick is also joining us from the Nebraska State Office. So again, we appreciate you taking the time to meet with us and discuss the issues. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded and will be shared with AARP members across your district. So with the opening that you've just provided, which was a great segue, we'll go actually moving into our questions now. And again, we've provided you with a set of 3 questions pertaining to the 50+ voter in Nebraska, allotting 5 minutes for each of those questions. Our first question this morning will come from Dave Holmquist, again, our state president, and it addresses helping people stay in their homes and communities. So go ahead, Dave.
Thank you for being with us this morning, Senator, and we appreciate your time. A livable community is one that is safe and secure, has housing that is affordable. In other words, no more than 30% of income is spent on housing. Has transportation options that allow individuals to travel by multiple means, and has supportive community features and services for people of all ages. And all these things allow people to remain in their communities as they age. What steps will you take to ensure that all Nebraskans have access to livable communities?
Excellent question. One of the things I think as a legislature that we are focused on and that I am very supportive of is retirement income. I know we tax retirement income, and it's one of those issues that I have heard from many of my constituents about. And I'll tell you, strangely, I don't hear a lot about it through my email. When I hear about retirement, and this would pertain to housing, everything that has to do with the issues of the question that you ask, except for one, which I'll address separately, and that is public safety, has to do with making sure that as you retire and you're on a fixed income, that you keep as much of your money as possible. And Nebraska is a high tax state. We did address some of that with 1107. I know there was some pushback of that bill not going far enough in this session. However, with the body that we currently have, that's as much as we could push across the line successfully. So I would be 100% supportive of continuing to look towards the retirement age income and cutting the tax rate that we levy on retirement income. I think that's, the states around us are much more favorable, and we've actually seen an out-migration from our state of those who are retired because of the taxation rate on retirement income. So that's something we definitely need to look at bringing down. The other is public safety. I think it's disturbing to a lot of us to see some of the things that are going on in our communities right now. Now, earlier in Lincoln, but fortunately that's not been an issue lately. But I am very supportive of public safety, of making sure that our law enforcement has everything they need to be successful and to keep our communities safe. I've actually received the endorsement of the Omaha Union, the police union, and I'm awaiting the endorsement of LPD union, but suspect that that's coming as well. It's just a huge front burner issue to me right now. I understand that there's some things that we can do to alleviate some of the concerns by some portions of the community about making sure that our law enforcement is dealing fairly with all minorities. However, from what I've seen, especially in Lincoln and in my district, is this has not been a problem with LPD. They have high-level training of dealing with minorities and dealing with the issues that come before them in law enforcement. And I think what we need to do as a legislature is make sure then that our law enforcement is also secure and safe as they go out every day and keep us safe.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Senator, and definitely appreciate your thoughts and comments on the retirement taxation issue. It's definitely always at the top of our members' list as well. One other point I guess I would bring in here too, and I'm not expecting you to answer, but just also reminding about homestead exemption. That's another huge area, and again, protecting that is because that's another area that I think fits nicely into what we've discussed today, but allowing people to stay in their homes.
Right.
And
I just throw in, very supportive. I worked with Senator Linehan quite closely as she worked through the taxation issues. And she, by the way, for anyone that doesn't know, is the chair of revenue and was the one who carried 1107. And she is, and I stand with her in supporting the homestead issue or homestead exemption issue. And it is a very important one to maintain.
Perfect. Thank you for your support of that, Senator. Our second question now will come from Danny DeLong, and it addresses health, caregiving, and home and community-based care. So go ahead, Danny.
Thank you, Senator. Glad to see you here today. Caregivers help older persons live independently at home by providing assistance with activities like bathing, dressing, and performing complex medical nursing tasks such as administering medication and wound care. Caregivers often provide these services with little or no training. I have two questions. I'll ask the first, and then I'll come back around to the second one. Will you support helping caregivers with paid leave, respite services, telehealth, and access to education and training?
Yes, I would. Actually, this hits very close to my home. I have a mother suffering from Alzheimer's disease. And for probably the better part of almost 3 years, my father is a physician. I grew up in Arkansas. He moved here as I was running for office with my mother to be closer to our family. And they had in-home health care. And even though he's a physician, he is not an RN. And those are the ones that end up doing that type of care with patients. So I saw this firsthand, and I think it's a huge issue. It's more affordable for our seniors to have someone in their home. The respite care for the caregiver, for instance, my father,
Right.
was something he did not avail himself of, though we begged him to. Um, and the care became so intense for her that now she is in a memory care facility here in town. But yes, I am very supportive of building up that community. And I really think that because my parents are blessed in that they have long-term care insurance, but they got in on that near the end of when that was offered in its robust form. And so I think as a community, we need to support those who cannot afford putting someone in a facility and giving them access to services, but also access to a more robust use of in-home care. So yes, I would be supportive of those things.
Just share with you, Senator, my mother suffered from Alzheimer's, and my father took care of her in the home for several years, and it was exhausting. And, you know, finally we moved both of them to the nursing home. And so I understand your story and
Thank you.
appreciate that. Yeah. Our second question is, how will you protect, expand paid services and supports and financial security to allow more seniors to live independently in their homes and communities?
You know, I think that this again is going to go back to making sure that seniors' income is as robust as it can be. And when we tax their income, it diminishes their ability to stay in their home successfully, or when their home valuations increase, and then therefore their taxation rate goes up, it cuts into that steady income. And so I would love to see us move to what some other states do when seniors retire and get on a fixed income, that fixes where their taxation rate is. Now that's going to take us some time, and I suspect it's going to take a year where we're looking out at positive revenues. Since I've been in the legislature, the first time that we had positive revenue coming in was this year. And the first time that we didn't have to look at cutting budgets. And so if we could get to a place where the Appropriations Committee, the Revenue Committee, as one, felt like we're on an upward trajectory, that's where you can garner more support within the body to allow a change in the way that we collect our taxation. And one of the first places I would look is stabilizing the rate for retired seniors.
Thank you, Senator. Appreciate your answers.
Thank you, Senator Geist. And our last question today, of course, comes, as I said, from Mike Walsh, who's a constituent to address nursing facility quality. So go ahead, Mike.
Thank you for being here, Senator.
You bet.
An estimated 6,600 Nebraskans reside in one of Nebraska's 211 nursing homes. By 2040, the University of Nebraska Omaha's Center for Public Affairs Research projects that the number will more than double to almost 14,000. According to Leading Age Nebraska, 33 Nebraska facilities closed between 2017 and 2019, unable to continue operations. And another 33 were in receivership as of the end of 2019. In 2020, another 15 facilities are anticipated to close because of staffing and funding issues make continued operations impossible. So our question is, how will you ensure that Nebraska residents receive quality nursing home care including ensuring an adequate nursing workforce, education and training, and proper reimbursement?
You know, one of the things that I've spent quite a bit of time now. This is a little bit out of my wheelhouse. I'll tell you that because I'm not on Health and Human Services. However, I've dealt with some of it. And let me give you an example. One of those is with the University of Nebraska and the Med Center. And I want to go specifically to the workforce issue. I would really like to see, and I've shared this with our new President Carter, a closer hand-in-hand relationship with our hiring needs and the seniors. Actually, we'd have to start more at the junior level of graduates coming out of the university, so that the graduates are aware of the needs within our communities, not just Lincoln and Omaha, but across the state. I know that the nursing facility in Kearney is really building up this area of sending RNs out into Western Nebraska, but making sure that we have a stable medical workforce. One of the things that I'm very supportive of is tuition reimbursement with those individuals, so that if they will go into a rural setting and spend 3 to 5 years, there's some type of tuition reimbursement that encourages their staying. A very difficult issue, and I know that one I have been, advocating for my constituents on is the reimbursement rates. And this is an issue that's always an issue, and that is repaying enough to help some of these nursing facilities be solvent. That's part of some of the issues of closing lately. And I know DHHS has put out a whole new methodology, and because several senators, and I was one of those that were vocal about the methodology that they had employed without really much input. I think they've backtracked a bit and are starting to make their methodology of paying a little more at least dependable. They were looking at stabilizing rates from 5-star facilities and 3-star, giving more money to the lower end and less to the upper. Now I think they're looking at stabilizing that a bit and taking it into rules and regs instead of statutory. And so there's a lot of moving parts, but because this affects my family personally, I'm very supportive of making sure that we have a stable flow of workforce, and that the rates that we're able to reimburse are as high as we can afford, and as dependable year after year. Any uncertainty in that payment rate is so detrimental to these facilities. So I would be supportive of keeping that steady and dependable and a great flow of workforce.
Yeah, it seems like we're going downhill, but we've got an increasing aging population, so we've got to do something in there. So.
Right, and actually, yeah, those are some of the hardest things from my perspective, not being right in the middle of it. Some of the hardest things to keep current on what's happening, what our payment scale is, how that goes. If you're not directly on the committee, you kind of get secondhand information, and suddenly a bill will come in front of us and everything's changed. And so I have some great friends on that committee, and so I use a lot of their expertise to keep abreast of some of these things. So I'm doing my best, and Tabitha is one, they're not actually in my district, but is one facility that was really being harmed by the new rate methodology. So I've been working closely with Christy Heinrichs to make sure that they're not being harmed by the new rate methodology. So anyway, that's what's helping to keep me current with what's going on.
Okay, thank you, Senator.
You're welcome.
And definitely appreciate those comments, Senator. And the other part of all of this too is protecting the resident, because we've seen a lot of people in receiverships who have had to move miles and miles from their community.
Right.
The transfer trauma, you know, there's so much research that shows that can affect them more negatively than anything. So we do appreciate your thoughts and comments on that very much. As we're coming now to the end of our meeting, I want to offer to you, Senator Geist, the final minutes to offer any closing thoughts or comments that you might have, or any messages you want to send to your constituents. So the floor is back to you.
Sure. One of those is I would just let your constituents and mine and those who might be listening understand what a steep learning curve there is in this job. That was one of the things I knew I was getting into, something when I ran that would require a lot of hours of work. I had no idea, though, the amount of information that you have to know on the broad spectrum of issues. And so I would encourage your constituents to feel like they can reach out to me, ask questions. My office is open. I try to answer every email, every phone call. Now, I'm not 100%. I just found out today I have someone I need to call back that I failed to call back during session. But that's not the norm for my office. We have an open door, and I'm always interested in listening, whether we agree or not. I'm not opposed to hearing a side that I haven't considered before. So I'm very open to that. But I say the steep learning curve because I'm excited at the prospect of doing 4 more years of this job, because I feel like I now have a grasp on how the legislature works, on many of the issues that are going on in our state and in my district. And I think it takes about at least half of a term to understand the workings of the unicameral. And so I would just say experience matters. And I would appreciate your support. And if there's anything that your constituents would like by way of information or assistance from our office, we're open and ready to help.
Great. Thank you again, Senator, for taking the time to visit with us. We wish you the best with your campaign. And most importantly, thank you for all that you do and for meeting with AARP Nebraska today.
Absolutely. Happy to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Senator.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.